Hello, everybody from Project Nerd Nation. This is Dane Mychal, and I'm here for a Tallgrass Film Festival interview. I'm joined by Mychal Quess Moore, aka A Scribe Called Quess, and Jason R.A. Foster. They are the makers of Many Fires This Time, We the 100 Million, which did screen at Tallgrass Film Festival and was available on demand as well. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. This is a film that I've had the pleasure to watch the past week, and I'm really excited to talk about it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.
First, I wanted to see if you would be able to just orient our viewers to who are the 100 million that you are talking about in your feature. So, question for either of you.
Sure. So the 100 million, to be sure, that was a framework given to us by Policy Link, which is the nonprofit that we partner with to make the movie. And originally it was supposed to be a work of like spoken word led devised theater, and we were gonna have all the poets perform live. We're gonna have some choreography, which you can still see in there. Shouts out to Jeremy, who you can see on his poster right now. If you had a view, I do. Jeremy Guyton, who did an excellent job bringing things to life through his movement. And we're going to weave some sound in, which our friend Free Farrell did an amazing job with in scoring it. And we're going to do all of that live. And Jason was going to provide the videography that would have been like, played in the background. But when COVID hit, it turned into a full on film. And so that's what you guys have. And the framework 100 million itself was about the 100 million Americans who are living in economic insecurity around the country. And that's not a new figure. That's a number that's been around since the 60s at least. Martin Luther King referenced it. George Jackson referenced it in their writings, and basically talking about, what seems to be just part and parcel of capitalism. You know what I mean? You're going to have about 1 out of 3 of your populace who's living in some type of economic insecurity, because this is a winner take all game. You know what I mean? It's a zero sum game in that regard. And you're going to have your Bransons and your Musks and your Bezoses. And that means you're also going to have 1 out of 3 people living in poverty trying to survive on what the crumbs are that they leave behind. And so we wanted to talk specifically in a way that was aligned with their mission to lift up the stories of the 100 million. And we did so by focusing on different communities in that demographic around the country. We couldn't obviously serve or be in, community with all of them, but we could, at least get like a sample of different parts of the country, different regions, and take the stories that they had to tell and put them, in conversation with one another and put them on a bigger stage. So that's basically where it came from.
So that's interesting. I didn't know that it was being set up as a live performance, and then you essentially were forced to pivot to creating a film. Now, were some of the subjects in the film, because it's a very, like you mentioned, it's a very national production, and so you've got people represented in, I think it was Kentucky, there's Chicago, New Orleans, I believe California as well. So did you find new participants, and was that one of the challenges of having to turn this into a film instead of like a live production?
Well, originally it was supposed to be 10 different cities, and we shrunk it down because of time and budget even before COVID hit. And so it was kind of the opposite of finding new participants. We had to really concentrate on what we could find in those particular places. And what we had to change and alter because of COVID was like the second half of the film, you see it starts to transition more into Zoom interviews instead of like live workshops. So that's what you see happening there, is like these are folks who were supposed to be in rooms with, and they were supposed to, we were going to work with them like we did with others to work with the poet and or organizers to bring in some of the people from their community that they are in concert with or that they work with. And that couldn't happen. So instead, it turned out being their stories directly told instead.
Okay. Jason, what were some of the biggest challenges for you turning this into a full-on film production instead of filming a live event?
Yeah, it was really rallying everyone to film the different poets in their cities. So, I went with Quest to a lot of the different cities, to every city really. One workshop I wasn't at, so Baycat, out of Oakland. They helped out and they filmed one session, but it was coordinating with the different filmmakers in Chicago, Kentucky, Tijuana to film the poets and have a cohesive look to it. You know, I didn't have a chance to meet any of them. I didn't really see any of their work, so a lot of trust went into the process. I had a guideline, but it was like first day, maybe shoot coverage, medium shot, wide shot, close up. Second day, have fun with it. You know, however you feel. The poem moves you, film it the way you see fit. So, and then additionally, when we filmed Quess's poems in New Orleans, if you've seen the film, you see the different proxy characters in each poem. So they're meant to be representative of the people in the different cities. So we filmed all that down here. So yeah, it was a lot of thinking outside the box, but still playing within the sandbox that was given to us by COVID.
How was your funding affected by needing to change that to a different format?
I think Quess, you can answer that better than me. I was, yeah,
Expand.
yeah,
Time is money, as they say in the capitalism, and we needed more time. So we need you to, expand and do what we got to do to accommodate the time. But, I mean, as films go, we hats off to Jason for making this happen in record time, because we were doing workshops from about June 2019, or beginning the process of trying to start workshops from June 2019 to about the following summer, almost. Spring of the next year, 2020, is when I'm wrapping up the last ones in Zoom. So most of the post production happened, and that's to say, like, we did all of that plus my videos were recorded that summer too, if I remember right, Jay. So I'm gonna say, like,
yeah.
really, we didn't finish all of the videography until June. He was still waiting on some other videos to come in from out of town, I'm pretty sure, even after that. And he made the movie happen like the next 6 months. So yeah, as things go, it came together relatively quick.
Now, where did you find the subjects? Were these poets that you've just known in your journey through life as a poet, Quess? Or
For the most part, yeah, I would say like 4 out of 6 poets were folks I had already, dealt with, what have you. I mean, technically it was 6 poets, including me, so there was 5 others, and 3 of them I already knew from past work, them having come to New Orleans or me having met them in other cities. And then the other 2, Policy Link had connects with, and they brought them in, or they knew somebody that knew somebody.
I still haven't formally met Marvin White. He's the last poet, and he came in at the 11th hour and killed it. Him and yeah.
Were your particular poems, were these all written about the same time, or once you had the project in hand, were these things that you worked on, or did these come to you before that?
Yeah, good question. I had I had 3 poems in there, and 2 were new, and 1 was something from way back, which ironically, the education poem, the second one I do, is one that me and Jason kind of met over through that project. We did a devised theater piece way back in the day called Lockdown, which is about privatization of schools in New Orleans. And we did it through Junebug Productions. Shouts out to them. And originally, that is an outgrowth of a company called Free Southern Theater, which goes all the way back to the 60s. So long story short, yeah, that poem came from that project, which started about 11 years ago or something. It culminated about 7 or 8 years ago. And I figured it was applicable to what we're talking about now. The other 2 pieces I created specifically for this.
Excellent. There's one quote that really stuck with me so much that I wrote it down from one of your poems. Prison beds are forecast based on the amount of students at a 4th grade reading level. Does it get more insidious than that? There are a lot of parts of the movie floored me, but in particular, I think just zeroing in on education a lot of the time. And there's a story from a woman who worked in the New Orleans school district that, for me, that was like the standout moment of the film. I know that there's lots of other moments that are going to hit with other people the most. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing that's that can be said about this film, is like it's going to move a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's not always going to be the same spot. But the part about education, because I work in education, I work for Creighton University, and I like that you guys present some solutions. You don't just like talk about what's wrong, but like the people in the film do present solutions. Like we need to change the way standardized testing is done. That's one thing I can like proudly say about my university is they do not they let you apply without having to submit any scores, testing scores. So, and because we know that these standardized tests can be like racially biased, culturally biased, and not reflective of the person taking them when the results are given. But I just want to commend you guys for putting together a wonderful piece, first of all.
Yeah, appreciate that. I mean, I definitely agree that education can definitely be a stimulus or a band-aid on already messed up, impoverished situations. We were trying to highlight all of those different things so they can come together in ways that you can see that. I mean, Kentucky gave a hell of an insight as well, just to see what it looks like to see direct disenfranchisement of a whole massive working class just because of a big corporate decision. We're not doing coal anymore. We're on a big farmer now. We off that. And so now all of you are out of a way of life that you've invested in for decades has become a part of your way of being in the world. And so between unlivable wages for workers and between that kind of just pulling the rug out from beneath people's feet and then having failing education systems, which New Orleans has a plethora of both. We have both of those at peak. We have like one of the worst education systems in the country, and then we have a 53% poverty rate in a city that's still a $9 billion tourist, industry, number one tourist destination in the world. There's absolutely no reason or excuse for that when 20% of the workers here are in hospitality. So where's all of that money going? Between that and big oil, which is a great correlate to the big pharma and big coal that happened in Kentucky. They have disappearing mountain tops. We have disappearing wetlands. We see how this disenfranchisement does different things in different communities, but essentially what it does is literally pull the land from under your feet, pull economic sustenance from under your feet, and then leave your children to the dogs in terms of another system that they've also privatized for their profit. And so we wanted to scatter plot all of this different information without sitting there and giving you a data tutorial. You can go to online, you can do your own research and get your data, but we wanted the stories to tell it.
Do you guys see yourselves working together again on similar projects? Like, is this just one of like stepping stones building towards more projects and hoping to create more change?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, if Quess will have me again.
I know Jay, bro. I'm Jason Foster out of
Yeah. No, this is our third, fourth collaboration.
Yep.
So, I mean, fifth, if you count different things, but yeah, I mean, this kind of came together in a way we didn't see the final outcome being. So I feel like the next time we do really put our feet into something, it's going to be more intentional. The final product, the foundation was there. We always had like, this is what we want to do with it, but the outcome has been surprising and very humbling because of what you said and what other people have taken from the film. Not to mention Tallgrass giving us an honorable mention for an award, Gordon Parks Award. So it's kind of been the found money, playing with house money tour with this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say that I don't want to. You might think that sometimes you had to compromise your vision because of like pandemic and things beyond your control, but it doesn't come across as like something that had to be compromised. So it's a amazing piece of film. So, yeah, Jason, I think you were going to say something possibly.
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just say, and thank you for the compliment, but it's quite the opposite of like any limitations. Now we like, no love for capitalism. We got like a Scrooge McDuck moment. Like we fell into a pile of gold with this one. Like, we were looking for a small thing, which was big for me to take a poetry show and potentially put it in different cities, like on the road with some of the dopest poets I know. But instead it became a whole film. So now we got a capsule that's gonna like outlive any of that. And you know, it's a beautiful, powerful work. You know, if I, you know, all biases aside, like I was moved several times, and also just speaking to your whole question, like I'm a fan of Jason's work. Like I love what he does with vision, with film and cinema. I'm a fan of film and cinema, but I would have never been able to do it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I love music. I can't play any instruments, but knowing that my guy has these skills, it's like, you know, the hope is that when we, God forbid, the stars align again, and I have a vision, he has a vision. In the past, we've just done this out of pocket, or we've done this, you know, in community with people that supported us. Now that we have this particular platform and this kind of support and love is garnering, I'm hoping that, you know, next time we got a vision, you know, resources are there. That'd be great.
I think there are people who would see your performance in the film and take issue with you not calling yourself a musician, because I mean there's a fine line between, I guess, poetry and singing or rapping or whatever, but like there's a flow to what you do that's like very musical, like you could tap, you know, snap your fingers to it, tap your feet to it. So
I received that.
Definitely musicality to Quess's cadence.
You did mention like it's like playing with house money when you get to make a movie about poetry, because like poetry is, I think, probably one of the most underappreciated like mediums that I can think of in today's society, like undervalued, underused, underexplored in mainstream media. So I love the way that you've approached making a feature film out of this problem, a nationwide problem, and it's a refreshing like spin on it.
You said a nationwide problem. I'm trying to, was that of underused poets or of
oh no of the one of poverty.
I got
yes you. Nationwide.
Yeah.
There is a nationwide problem probably too of underusing poetry, but you're seeking to remedy both in the same film. So
like poetry is either heralded. You could look at the inauguration with I just blanked on her name now.
The Gorman, I just saw on Facebook.
Yeah. Or you could look at a film like 22 Jump Street, which parodies poetry. So it's like, it's either like somebody making fun of spoken word or spoken word being elevated to, you know, the highest stage in the country. So,
and there's so much space in between. It's under explored, underutilized, and not fully understood, to where like poets, the communities I've been in, we've been sustaining this thing. Like if what Jason just depicted is like us at 0 being, you know, made fun of in mainstream, or us at 100, us literally at the height of, you know, international, you know, visibility, if not power, you know, through Amanda's type of performance and the White House open mics that Obama was doing, all of that. In the middle is just like a whole lot of poets that don't get to come even close to tapping the fullness of their potential because of a lack of resources and support. And if they burn out on we're one of the few genres that still have like a chitlin circuit of a performance. If you're familiar with the chitlin circuit or the blood buckets and the blues, you know what I mean? Like where you're just literally passing the hat and selling your own product. We're one of the few genres that are still on that level and don't get a big platform after all of that grind. Hip hop will get it. They've been doing it 40 years. We've been doing it just as long, if not longer. But it's, you know, the operative part is PO and poet. So, you know, we're trying to expand, not just for the better resources, but, you know, I feel like the masses benefit. I never see a response like I do from how people respond to poetry. It's like just magic. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, they just can't believe somebody says the things that we say in front of people. You know what I mean? And it's the healing that happens, and people need to experience that or have access to that.
Well, so there's another film that's screened at Tallgrass called Vinyl Nation, and it's about the resurgence in vinyls. How about bringing poetry together with the vinyl release? I mean, people are always looking for like a new way of discovering something. I think just like, how about like a poetry compilation on vinyl? That would be amazing.
I wanted to watch that film and I didn't make it to it because so much has happened while I was up there.
Yeah.
But I know a few good poets. I know at least one, but he's already very well spoken for. But hey, I'll put it out there. Hanif Abdurraqib, he writes a lot of essays about music. He's got 2 books on him. One of the most recent is The Devil's Pretty Devil in America, something like that. But he writes about a lot of music history, and then he's an amazing poet. So, you know,
we did talk about putting the soundtrack on vinyl. That was like one of the first ideas we had So you might need to revisit that.
Yeah.
But I do want to give a quick shout out to Lori, to Lupe, to Jerry, to Axel, Irene, Michael Orange, all the
Venice.
people behind the scenes who really helped mold this thing, who worked in PolicyLink and PolicyLink adjacent, independent contractors. So I don't think we shouted them out on this press junket, whatever you want to call it. But I just want to throw their names out there. And for everybody else I forgot, Kalima, Michael McCaffrey,
McCaffrey. Yeah, thank you for putting them names out there, Jason, because PolicyLinks folks did really come through. The ones that worked with us directly, and even the ones we can't name that were like some of our first eyes to screen the film. They gave us good encouragement, critical feedback, all of that. And they
took a chance. They took a chance on something, and I would say it netted out well for them.
Yeah, it's doing what we expected.
So you've got New Orleans Film Festival next, and then you've got one in Louisville. But what's the future of Many Fires this time, and what's your hope for how people will be able to access it in the future going forward?
Netflix.
HBO. Yeah. I mean, any of those would be great. We've had a few people who teach at universities show some interest. So I would love to see it on a college educational circuit. In rooms like what we did with the workshops, community screenings. That's one of the things that we spoke about before the film was even finished, was how do we get this in front of the people who was made for and made with, because film fests, there's a certain barrier. Not everybody is checking for a film fest. Not everybody has access to go to a film fest. So how do we get it a la FST, Free Silent Theater? How do we bring this piece to the people, and they just have to come out their door and watch it? They don't have to do much else. So that's my hope. That's my want. I mean, Netflix and Amazon and whomever else or whoever we decide to partner with, or who wants to partner with us, that'll be great. But I want the people to see it.
Excellent.
Well,
thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. It's been great talking to you, and thank you again for making this movie. We need more films like this, and keep doing what you're doing. That's all. And I hope that it's going to eventually find its way to a platform where millions of people will be able to access it. So,
same. Thank you for the time.
Appreciate it.
And for Project Nerd viewers out there, stay tuned. We're going to bring you more Tallgrass Film Festival interviews throughout the remainder of the year. So stick around for those. Thanks again.